I remember the light that morning, soft and kind, the way it touched the leaves outside my window. The world felt quiet, still, innocent, like it always did before life teaches you what fear really is. I was a teenager thinking about summer plans, friends, laughter, nothing dangerous, nothing dark, just sunlight and small dreams. Then a car slowed near me and something deep inside whispered, "Pay attention." That voice was small, but it was the one that saved me, because courage does not arrive in a roar. It begins as a whisper inside your own chest, a whisper that says, "Remember who you are, remember to breathe." He spoke to me, and for a moment I wanted to believe people are good. I wanted to believe the world was still safe, but my heartbeat told me something else. It told me that my life was about to change, that I needed to become the version of myself who could survive anything. When fear comes, it does not shout, it creeps like a shadow, but I decided right then I would not let that shadow own me. I told myself, stay calm, stay quiet, remember everything, because even in moments when you're not free, your mind can be your weapon, your memory can be your map, your strength can be silent but unbreakable. Inside that moment I learned how fast the mind can move. I watched details like a camera, every smell, every sound, every pattern, every scar, every name written on something, because I knew one day these memories would lead me home. They would become my voice when I could finally speak again. There were hours that felt endless, but I told myself, this will not be forever. I will get out, I will live to tell this story. I will not let fear decide who I am. I built walls inside me, strong, invisible walls that no one could touch. I pretended to be calm, to be small, to be quiet, but inside I was a storm, learning how to survive. I talked gently, I listened, I studied everything, because survival is not only about strength, it is about strategy, it is about patience, it is about finding light in total darkness, even if it is on. It is only the light you imagine in your mind. When the chance came, I took it, my hands shaking, my breath shallow, but my mind clear. That whisper inside grew louder. It said, run now or never, and I listened. My feet moved before my fear could catch them. I felt air rush over my skin, the sound of the world returning, the heartbeat of freedom pounding in my ears. I did not look back, because looking back meant losing time, and time was my life. I ran until the world opened wide again, until strangers became saviors, until safety felt real again, and I knew I had made it out. But survival does not end at escape, it begins there, because after the storm you face the silence, and in that silence you start to understand what strength really means. People called me brave, but bravery is not loud, it is not fearless, it is the quiet decision to keep living even when your heart still trembles. It is waking up each morning, choosing not to be defined by what happened, choosing instead to build something new from the pieces that were left. The nights after were heavy. Sometimes I could not sleep. I would hear echoes of that day in my dreams, but I learned that healing is not a straight road, it is a path you walk slowly, one breath, one sunrise at a time. You teach your mind that the danger is gone, you teach your soul that it can rest again. I talked, I shared my story, not because I wanted people to feel pity, but because I wanted them to understand the power that lives inside all of us, the quiet courage that rises when we think we cannot go on. I wanted other survivors to hear my voice and know they are not alone, that their strength might be sleeping, but it is still there waiting to wake up. Sometimes people ask, how did you stay calm, how did you know what to do, and I tell them the truth, I did not know. I only knew that panic was not an option. I only knew that if I stayed present, if I stayed aware, then maybe I could find my way home, maybe I could write my own ending. Every small detail mattered, every breath. Every word I spoke, every second I waited, each one was a thread that pulled me toward freedom. And when I finally felt the weight of the sky again, when I felt the sun touch my face, I knew I had crossed from fear into life again. Time passed, people moved on, but I carried the lessons deep inside. I learned that danger can appear in the calmest moments, but I also learned that strength can rise in the weakest hearts. I learned that no matter what someone tries to take from you, they can never steal your will to survive. So I began to rebuild my life. I walked into each day with quiet gratitude. I spoke to young girls and women, telling them to listen to their instincts, to trust that whisper inside them that says something is wrong, because that whisper is not fear, it is wisdom, it is protection, it is life itself trying to guide you home. Some days I felt strong, other days I felt broken, but I kept moving. Healing is not about forgetting, it is about transforming the pain into purpose, turning fear into fuel. I became louder, braver, more open, not because I was never afraid, but because I refused to stay small. I looked in the mirror and saw someone new, not the girl who was taken, but the woman who returned, the one who fought back, not with fists, but with focus, with awareness, with unshakable will. That is what true power looks like, not the absence of fear, but the decision to walk through it. Years later, when I tell this story, I still feel that whisper in my chest, the one that said survive, and I still thank it, because it taught me that even when the world turns dark, the light inside you does not go out, it waits for you to find it again, and when you do, you shine brighter than before. Every time I speak, I remember the others who never got the chance to tell their story. I remember that my survival is not only mine, it is a message, a reminder that no matter how deep the darkness, no matter how strong the fear, the human spirit can rise again, stronger, softer, wiser. So if you hear my story, let it remind you that courage is not born from perfection, it is born from pain, it is born from moments when you feel like giving up, but keep going anyway. It is born when you choose to believe that there is still a future waiting for you beyond the fear. Today I am free, not only in body but in spirit. I do not live in the shadow of what happened, I live in the light of what I became. I am proof that survival is not the end, it is the beginning. It is the point where the story turns from tragedy to triumph, from silence to strength. And when people ask me what kept you alive, I tell them it was not luck, it was not chance, it was the choice to fight for myself quietly, steadily, without breaking the belief that someday I would stand here telling you this story, breathing this air, feeling this sun, and knowing I made it home. So I speak not as a victim but as a survivor, as a reminder that even in your darkest night you hold the power to bring back the dawn. The strength you need is already inside you, waiting for the moment you decide to listen to it, and when you do, it will carry you out of the shadows and into the light again.
نستغفرك اللهم من جميع الذنوب والخطايا ونتوب إليك. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم اعتق رقابنا من النار. اللهم اعتق رقابنا